Welcome, curious listeners, to another deep dive. Today, we are plunging headfirst into a really fascinating topic. It sort of bridges centuries of ancient wisdom with the cutting edge of modern scientific research. We're talking about a botanical powerhouse known as Bacopa Monnieri, though maybe you know it by its traditional name, Brahmi.
Yeah, Brahmi, exactly. It's got this long-standing reputation in Ayurveda.
Right. For generations, it's been seen as this foundational memory tonic, a plant believed to, unlock greater mental clarity, sharpen recall, even calm the mind.
And that's precisely our mission today, isn't it? We're here to take your sources and really unpack what the latest science is telling us about Bacopa Monnieri's effects, especially its potential impact on mental cognition and memory.
Yeah.
We'll explore the how behind its proposed benefits, dig into its widespread interest as a nootropic, these substances designed to enhance cognitive function. And we'll even look at some, frankly, surprising new research into its potential role in Alzheimer's treatment. It's showing some really intriguing promise there, especially when you compare it to certain synthetic drugs that, didn't pan out. But, like always, we'll also cover the crucial practical details, how people typically use it, what dosages pop up in the research, any potential side effects or, important warnings you should definitely be aware of.
Good.
Our goal is basically to give you a comprehensive but still digestible understanding of this intriguing botanical so you leave feeling, well-informed.
All right, let's unpack this then. Bacopa Monnieri, or Brahmi. It definitely has centuries of traditional use as a cognitive enhancer, like you said. When we hear terms like memory tonic and cognitive enhancer, it often leads to that modern term nootropic. But just for anyone listening who might be new to this idea, what exactly is a nootropic, and where does Bacopa Monnieri fit into that picture?
Yeah, that's an excellent place to start. So the concept of a nootropic, it basically refers to a substance that's believed to enhance cognitive function, specifically in healthy individuals.
Okay, healthy people.
Right. We're talking about things like improving memory, maybe boosting creativity, sharpening focus, or even increasing motivation. The idea isn't necessarily about treating a disease, though, as we'll get to, Bacopa's potential does seem to extend into therapeutic areas, too. But think of it more like a tool for sort of optimizing brain performance, helping your mind work maybe a bit more efficiently.
Okay.
And Bacopa has this really long, well-established reputation within traditional Indian medicine, particularly Ayurveda. It was used extensively. Ancient texts describe it being used for improving memory, overall mental function, often given to students or, elders.
Right.
It was revered not just as a cognitive aid, but also for its calming properties, helping reduce anxiety and stress, which, indirectly supports mental clarity anyway.
So it's not just about a quick mental boost, maybe. It sounds more like a holistic approach to mental well-being in that traditional sense.
Exactly. And this broader view of its effects is actually what makes it so interesting to modern science. Because beyond just its traditional role as a memory enhancer, investigations into Bacopa have revealed a much wider spectrum of pharmacological effects.
Like what?
Well, for instance, studies have looked into its potential in treating neurodegenerative conditions like Parkinson's disease, focusing on its neuroprotective qualities. There's also research into its anti-stroke properties, suggesting it might help protect brain tissue from damage caused by, reduced blood flow.
Wow.
And quite remarkably, it's shown anticonvulsant potential too, which means it could potentially have a role in managing conditions like epilepsy.
That's quite a range.
It is. And this wider range of observed effects is what really intrigues researchers. It suggests multiple, maybe interconnected ways it might impact brain health and function. It paints a picture of a really versatile compound, not just a one-trick pony,
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for a lot of us, I think. We've heard about these traditional claims, centuries of use.
Yeah.
But the real test, for many, comes when we put these ancient claims under the microscope of modern science. What happens when we bring Bacopa into rigorous clinical trials? What does the evidence actually reveal about its impact on human cognition and memory? Do these claims hold up?
That's a fantastic and critical question. And the data, as we'll see, it paints a promising picture, but maybe a nuanced one too.
Okay.
Let's dive into some of the positive findings first, starting with adult populations. These often kind of lay the groundwork for understanding a compound's potential.
Makes sense.
So one early study, quite impactful at the time, involved 35 adults. They were given 12 grams of Bacopa in a syrup form every day for 4 weeks.
12 grams seems like a lot.
It does sound like a lot in syrup form, yeah. But what the researchers observed was a noticeable improvement in self-reported nervousness, concentration, and memory. And crucially, no reported side effects, which is always a good sign, right? Suggests good tolerability. A valuable early finding.
Okay, promising start.
Then there was another significant trial. This one had 76 healthy adults aged between 40 and 65. They looked at the effects of a standardized 300 milligram daily supplementation of Bacopa.
Standardized, so consistent active compounds.
Exactly. And this study specifically showed benefits in what's called delayed recall of word pairs.
Okay, what's that exactly?
Think of it like this. You learn a list of word pairs, then you do something else for a while, and later you're asked to remember those pairs. Bacopa seemed to help people retrieve that information more effectively after that delay.
Ah, so impacting long-term memory storage or retrieval.
Seems like it, yeah. How new information is stored and later pulled back out.
Interesting. What about older adults?
Good question. For healthy elderly volunteers, specifically around 60 years old, a 300 milligram daily dose of Bacopa over 12 weeks led to some very specific and encouraging changes in brain activity.
I like them.
Researchers observed reduced N100 and P300 latencies. Now, that's a bit technical, but basically...
Yeah, simplify that for us.
Right. Think of these as tiny delays in your brain's electrical signals when it processes information. Reducing them means Bacopa essentially helps your brain respond faster, improving how quickly you process new info and focus your attention.
Okay, faster processing, better attention.
Exactly. And that study also reported a direct improvement in working memory. That's your brain's sort of mental scratch pad where you hold and manipulate information right now.
Got it.
There was also a specific Bacopa capsule regimen used in a trial with 23 healthy adults. They did 300 milligrams a day for 15 days, then upped it to 450 milligrams a day for another 15 days.
So a dose increase.
Yeah. And this specific regimen led to improved mental functioning. It shows that even a sort of staggered dosing approach can yield benefits. And looking at more specific groups, a multi-center clinical trial with patients who had mild cognitive impairment, folks experiencing some memory issues beyond normal aging, but not quite Alzheimer's yet.
Yeah.
That study also showed favorable results in improving cognitive function with Bacopa, which is particularly promising, suggesting a potential therapeutic role beyond just boosting healthy cognition.
That is incredibly promising. It almost sounds, well, a bit too good to be true for a natural herb sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially when we think about younger brains. Is it just for adults or those with decline? What about kids? Are there studies there?
Yes, absolutely. And some of the early studies in children are quite compelling, actually. They give an intriguing look at Bacopa's potential in developing minds.
Oh.
For instance, one early investigation involved 20 primary school kids. They got 350 milligrams of Bacopa syrup 3 times a day for 3 months. The results were pretty encouraging. Improved learning skills, better perception, enhanced memory, quicker reaction times, and again, importantly, no reported side effects. So a really early indicator of its positive influence on young, developing cognitive systems.
What about specific conditions like ADHD?
Yeah, good point. There was a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, the gold standard,
Right.
with 36 children diagnosed with ADHD. This study reported highly beneficial results. The kids who got 50 milligrams of fresh whole plant extract of Bacopa twice a day for 12 weeks showed significant improvement in logical memory.
Logical memory. So remembering sequences, instructions, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Which, for kids with ADHD, can be incredibly impactful for learning and just daily functioning.
Definitely.
And additionally, a standardized extract called CDRI-08, often sold as Keen Mind.
Keen Mind, okay.
That was found to enhance learning and help control abnormal behavior in 40 mentally retarded children. Remember, standardized means the active compounds are consistent, which is really key for reliable results in dosing. So you see this sort of recurring pattern of positive outcomes across different age groups and various cognitive states. It suggests Bacopa might have broad applicability, from optimizing healthy brains to potentially supporting those facing cognitive challenges.
That's certainly an encouraging set of findings, seems to support many of the traditional uses. But, and there's usually a but in science.
Right. Yes.
Especially with natural compounds, the results are rarely just a straight line of universal improvement. We need the full picture, and sometimes that includes mixed results or, nuances. What does the broader landscape tell us? Where might the results not be as clear-cut?
You're absolutely right. It's vital to look at the full picture, and understanding the complexities is just as insightful. Not all studies show improvements across the board. Take that Runri's study we mentioned earlier, the 76 healthy adults on 300 milligrams. While delayed recall did improve, the study noted that other things they measured, like general attention, working memory capacity, short-term memory tasks, overall psychological state, even retrieving prior knowledge, those didn't show a statistically beneficial effect.
So specific effects, not a global boost.
It might be more specific, yeah.
Oh.
Or maybe it needs different conditions or longer durations to show up across more functions. It's not necessarily a magic bullet for every single aspect of brain function all at once.
Okay.
And a really important note that comes up consistently from the research, the benefits seem to accrue from long-term, consistent use.
Right, you mentioned that. Not like caffeine.
Exactly. It's not an immediate kick. One study specifically found no effect on memory performance when Bacopa was given just 2 hours after taking it.
2 hours, nothing.
Nothing significant. It really reinforces the idea that you need to be patient with it. The effects build up over time, likely due to, cumulative biochemical changes in the brain.
So weeks, months.
Generally, studies showing positive effects run for several weeks, often 8 to 12 weeks or even longer. And similarly, another trial that combined Bacopa with ginkgo biloba for only 4 weeks found no significant effect on cognition and memory in healthy subjects.
So maybe combining isn't always better, or maybe 4 weeks just wasn't long enough.
Could be either, or both. It just underscores the importance of that long-term commitment if you're considering Bacopa.
Okay. Now, you mentioned an Indian school children's study with mixed findings. Tell us about that one. Sounds important for understanding the limits.
Yes, it's a really interesting one, and it offers crucial insights into the complexities here. It was a big study. 4 months, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled, 300 Indian school kids aged 7 to 12.
Wow. Okay.
They were given a beverage fortified with Bacopa extract, EBM, and multiple micronutrients, MMN, and compared against a non-fortified control drink.
So Bacopa plus vitamins and minerals.
Basically, yeah. And the main thing they looked for was a change in short-term memory, specifically spatial working memory, remembering where things are. They measured it using something called between errors.
And what did they find?
Well, that primary outcome, along with most of the secondary ones, sustained attention, episodic memory, remembering events, executive function, like planning, were not significantly improved by the fortified beverage.
Oh, that sounds disappointing.
On the surface, maybe, but there was one interesting little positive signal. The spatial working memory strategy score did show significant improvement on day 60.
Strategy score. Meaning,
while their raw error count didn't change much, the kids in the Bacopa group seemed to start using more efficient ways to remember the spatial information.
Okay. Bitter approach.
Right. And this is important, that improvement wasn't sustained by day 121. And critically, it was deemed not clinically significant because the effect size was tiny.
So statistically there, but not really making a noticeable difference in real life.
Yeah, pretty much. A finding might be unlikely due to chance, but too small to be meaningful practically.
Gotcha. Any other little blips?
They saw some minor differences in a visual processing task across different age groups, but again, the effects were very small. The researchers cautiously suggested it was likely just chance, a type 1 error, not a real treatment effect differing by age.
Okay, so why the mixed results in this big study, especially compared to some of the others? Did the researchers have ideas?
They did, and they were quite open about the study's limitations, which is good science. Firstly, the dose of Bacopa used 260 milligrams per day was quite a bit lower than doses in other studies that did find significant effects.
Dose matters.
Absolutely. Some of those other studies used much higher doses, like over 1,000 milligram or even 2,000 milligrams a day. So maybe 260 milligrams just wasn't enough to see a strong effect.
Okay, what else?
Secondly, bioavailability. Being in a beverage powder instead of a capsule or syrup might have meant less of the Bacopa was actually absorbed and used by the body. Many successful studies used capsules or syrups.
Right, how it's delivered.
Thirdly, potential confounding factors, like the kids' overall diet. In developing countries, diets can often lack enough energy and protein. That baseline nutritional status could potentially mask any subtle benefits from the supplement. If basic needs aren't met, adding a bit extra might not show up.
Makes sense. They didn't check their baseline nutrition.
No detailed food questionnaires or blood samples were taken to check for baseline micronutrient deficiencies. So it's hard to know if the kids were already sufficient or truly deficient, making it hard to isolate Bacopa's effect.
Okay.
Fourth, duration. Maybe 4 months just wasn't long enough for those long-term cumulative effects to really manifest strongly.
Right, the patience factor again.
And finally, they acknowledged they didn't know how the multiple micronutrients and Bacopa interacted when given together. Did they help each other, hinder each other? It adds a layer of complexity.
So what does this all mean for us, trying to make sense of it? It sounds like Bacopa is promising, but definitely nuanced. Clear benefits sometimes, especially long-term in certain groups, but other times results are less clear, maybe due to dose, formulation, context.
That's a perfect summary. It's not a magic pill that works universally for everyone every time. It's a compound with legitimate potential, but under the right conditions. It really highlights the complexity of botanical research, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Understanding these nuances is key to being really well informed.
Exactly.
Now, for the real deep dive into the science, how does Bacopa Monnieri, or its active compounds, actually work? What's happening at the molecular level to potentially improve memory and mental function?
This is where it gets truly fascinating because Bacopa seems to work through this wonderfully multifaceted approach. It's not just one thing. It's influencing numerous pathways in the brain and body, like a whole symphony of effects.
Okay, lay it on us. What's the first big mechanism?
One of the most significant is its powerful antioxidant effects. Our brain is incredibly vulnerable to something called oxidative stress.
Like rust in the body.
That's a great analogy. Yeah, caused by an imbalance of these highly reactive molecules called free radicals and our body's ability to neutralize them. The brain is especially susceptible, high energy use, lots of iron, fats that can be damaged.
Right.
Bacopa steps in like a rust proofer. It helps quench these reactive oxygen species, ROS, and normalizes damage caused by oxidative stress.
How does it do that?
Specifically, it boosts the activity of key antioxidant enzymes. Our body already makes its own cleanup crew. Enzymes like SOD, C-HAPT, GPX, GST. Think of them as specialized vacuums for free radicals.
Okay, boosts our natural defenses.
Exactly. It also inhibits nitric oxide generation by downregulating an enzyme called INS, which, when overactive, adds to inflammation and stress.
Is there evidence for this?
Oh yeah, compelling evidence from animal studies. It ameliorates oxidative stress caused by various toxins certain chemicals, pollutants, herbicides, even stuff used to induce diabetes in lab models. It combats damage from smoke exposure, helps regulate stress biomarkers.
Wow.
And it's even shown potential in chemoprevention, demonstrating antioxidant and tumor-inhibiting properties in some cancer models. So broad protective capabilities.
So it's a powerful protector against cell damage, especially in the brain. That sounds fundamental. What about brain communication? Does it influence neurotransmitters?
Absolutely. Foundational protection is key. And yes, moving beyond antioxidants, Bacopa plays a crucial role in neurotransmitter modulation. These are the chemical messengers allowing brain cells to talk to each other, vital for everything cognitive.
Right.
Bacopa seems to influence several critical systems. For instance, it upregulates things involved in making and handling serotonin, TPH2, and SIRT. Serotonin is deeply involved in mood, learning, and memory. It also has links, direct and indirect, to changes in dopamine, reward, motivation, noradrenaline, alertness, and especially acetylcholine, AC.
Acetylcholine, that's the big memory one, right?
Definitely a major player. Bacopa is known to reduce acetylcholinesterase, ACE activity. ACE is the enzyme that breaks down acetylcholine.
So less breakdown means more acetylcholine available.
Precisely. And higher acetylcholine levels can enhance cognitive processing, sharpen working memory, improve attention. It effectively modulates the whole cholinergic system.
Cool.
Plus, in stressed animals, Bacopa helps restore levels of serotonin, noradrenaline, and dopamine that get depleted by chronic stress. It might also increase glutamate levels, modulate GABA receptors, the brain's main calming neurotransmitter, especially in conditions like epilepsy. And it boosts proteins involved in packaging and releasing glutamate, which is key for preventing cognitive impairment.
It's incredible how many brain chemicals it seems to touch. Like a master tuner for the brain's orchestra, not just hitting one note. That sounds really sophisticated. Does it go even deeper? Like molecular pathways, protein interactions within cells?
Oh, absolutely. It gets even more intricate at the core machinery level. In studies looking at amnesia reversal, Bacopa has been shown to inhibit things like INOS, which we mentioned, MAP kinase, a stress inflammation pathway, and phosphorylated CO-Web, PCREB, crucial for long-term memory.
Inhibiting those helps prevent memory loss.
Seems so, while at the same time it increases levels of other key players like protein kinase C, calmodulin, and PCREB itself. Think of these as molecular switches vital for learning and memory consolidation. It suggests it helps prevent memory loss mediated by calmodulin.
Okay, complex signaling.
Very. For general memory enhancement, it modulates how genes related to memory are expressed, specifically influencing histone acetylation in the hippocampus.
Histone acetylation, loosening the DNA spool to access memory genes.
That's a good way to put it. Enhancing hippocampus-dependent contextual memory for facts, events, and their context. It also promotes neurogenesis, creating new brain cells by increasing BDNF levels.
Brain fertilizer.
Exactly. And it upregulates glutamate receptors crucial for synaptic plasticity, the brain's ability to strengthen connections for learning. It even reverses memory loss linked to certain gene expressions. Specific compounds like bacoside I act via key survival pathways, protecting against ischemia or low blood flow.
Wow.
And get this, bacoside I and 2 can selectively modulate aquaporin 1 channels. These regulate water and ion flow in brain cells, vital for brain fluid balance and nerve signaling.
It's truly remarkable. So many different fundamental pathways. It really is a symphony, like you said. Any other broad effects contributing to the cognitive benefits?
Indeed. One more significant area, Bacopa also shows powerful anti-inflammatory effects. Chronic low-grade inflammation in the brain is increasingly seen as a major driver of cognitive decline and neurodegenerative diseases.
Right, brain inflammation is bad news.
Definitely. Bacopa selectively inhibits the COX2 enzyme, a key player in inflammation, reducing inflammatory prostaglandins. It helps prevent lysosomal membranes from rupturing. These contain damaging enzymes so they break open. Studies show it reduces major pro-inflammatory signaling molecules like IL-6 and TNF-alpha. It downregulates others like nitric oxide and IFN-gamma in human blood cells. This systemic anti-inflammatory action, especially since it seems to cross the blood-brain barrier, supports its potential role in treating or preventing brain inflammation.
So less inflammation means a healthier environment for brain cells.
Exactly. Creates a more conducive environment for them to function and thrive.
That makes a lot of sense. Protecting the brain, optimizing its environment, seems comprehensive. Now, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Alzheimer's disease, it remains such a formidable challenge.
Huge challenge.
And synthetic drugs developed to fight it have faced major setbacks, despite huge investments. But some new research suggests Bacopa might offer a novel, maybe more successful approach. What's going on here? This sounds like a potential game changer.
It's an incredibly exciting and frankly critical area of research, especially given those past challenges. Alzheimer's, as you said, cognitive deterioration, memory loss, and those sticky amyloid plaques, peptides, building up in the brain.
Right.
For a long time, an enzyme called beta secretase, or BACE1, was seen as a key culprit. It makes the first cut that starts the whole plaque cascade, so it became a prime target.
The logic was simple. Block BACE1, stop the plaques, stop the disease.
Exactly. Elegant idea. But the failures of synthetic BACE1 inhibitors were a major disappointment, promising drugs like adaptogenic, lanabecestat, varubecestat. They went through advanced trials with huge hopes.
But they failed. Why?
Despite effectively reducing APLA levels, they hit their target. They failed to show clinical benefit. Adaptogenic was stopped due to liver toxicity. Lanabecestat and varubecestat reduced AF, but didn't improve cognition. Sometimes things even worsened.
Wow. So just reducing AP wasn't enough, or maybe blocking BACE1 too strongly caused other problems.
Right. Precisely. It highlighted that maybe just lowering AT isn't sufficient, or perhaps BACE1 has other vital roles, and completely shutting it down has unforeseen negative consequences, like building a perfect key for a lock, but finding it opened too many doors, or maybe jammed the mechanism.
That's a powerful analogy. So if these super-targeted synthetic drugs failed, how do Bacopa phytochemicals enter the picture as potential alternatives? What's different?
This is where Bacopa offers a fresh perspective. Research suggests the natural compounds in Bacopa specific things like bacopasaponins A, B, C, D, G, X, bacoside A, bacoside A3, jujubagenin.
The active players.
Right. These might offer BACE1 inhibition with a distinct and potentially safer approach. Advanced computational studies using techniques like molecular docking.
Computer modeling.
Yeah, modeling how they fit into the enzyme. It revealed something interesting. Bacopa compounds look structurally quite different from those failed synthetic ones.
That's good. Means a new approach.
Exactly. Novel scaffolds. They have enhanced features for binding more potential hydrogen bonds, like tiny magnets holding them in place. More complex shapes. Several Bacopa compounds showed comparable or even better binding energies than the best synthetic one, lanabecestat.
Better binding.
Potentially, yeah. Bacoside is particularly notable. It forms this extensive network of hydrogen bonds, gripping onto the critical catalytic, aspartates the enzyme's active hands and other key residues. Bacoside A3 also binds strongly. This suggests they could be really effective alternatives.
So they don't just bind, they bind well and maybe differently. Intriguing. But binding is one thing. What about stability? Do they just stick rigidly or is it more sophisticated?
Critical question. Molecular dynamic simulations look at this how they interact over time, and they show Bacopa compounds have stability and flexibility profiles comparable to the synthetic ones. Their RMSD values are stable, meaning they settle into a steady conformation. Once bound, they don't just wobble off.
Okay, stable binding.
But the RMSF analysis, looking at flexibility of parts of the enzyme, showed something distinctive. Bacopa compounds stabilize the catalytic core, but they modulate the lexible flap region.
The flap, like a lid controlling access.
Exactly. This controlled dynamic flexibility is key. Instead of just rigidly blocking, they subtly influence the enzyme's movement. Bacopa saponin A, for example, induced high flap flexibility, a unique mechanism. Bacopa saponin D showed extensive anti-correlated motions, like parts moving in coordinated opposition.
Like a seesaw effect within the enzyme.
Sort of. Bacoside I and Bacopa saponin D selectively disrupted the motion of the catalytic hands while keeping the overall structure intact. This suggests they might be dynamic inhibitors, fine-tuning activity rather than just shutting it down completely. This could be linked to fewer side effects.
A more nuanced inhibition.
Possibly, yeah. The sugar bits on the saponin seem to help with binding too. Other analyses like radius of gyration, RG, and solvent-accessible surface area, SS, confirm they maintain a compact, stable structure when bound, similar to or sometimes even more compact than the synthetics.
So, beyond just fitting, they seem to influence the enzyme's dynamics in potentially a more beneficial way, allowing controlled rather than rigid inhibition. That sounds elegant. What about the actual strengths of binding, the stickiness?
That's where binding free energy, MMP-BSA, comes in. It measures the interaction strength, and it reveals Bacopa phytochemicals often surpass the synthetic inhibitors.
Really?
Yeah. The copicide I showed the most negative binding free energy, negative 36.71 kilopalmol, significantly stronger than adabesistat, negative 29.21 kilopalmol. Remember, more negative means stronger, more stable binding. Bacopa saponin D and bacoside A3 were also very strong. This suggests they could form really stable complexes with BACE1, maybe leading to longer-lasting effects.
Okay, strong binding.
The dynamic cross-correlation matrix, DCCM analysis, supports this further. Bacopa compounds, especially A and D, induced more pronounced, subtle shifts in BACE1 dynamics around the catalytic bits compared to synthetics, again suggesting a more effective, nuanced inhibition. And the UMA free energy landscape analysis is even more profound. It shows Bacopa induces distinct shape changes in BACE1 that are different from the unbound enzyme or when bound to synthetics. These adaptations involve key regulatory regions, like that flap, suggesting the enzyme subtly reshapes itself to accommodate Bacopa, a really novel interaction.
This all sounds incredibly promising mechanistically. The way these natural compounds interact seems more sophisticated than the synthetics that failed. But even the best binder is useless if it can't get to the brain or if it's toxic, right? How do they stack up on safety and delivery?
Crucial point. And this is where Bacopa really shines compared to those synthetic counterparts, which often stumbled here. The ADME tox profiles, absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion, toxicity, look quite favorable for Bacopa phytochemicals.
That's so.
For instance, improved blood-brain barrier, BBB penetration. Bacopa saponins, ADGX, scored well in tests, suggesting they can actually cross that protective barrier to reach the brain, which is vital for Alzheimer's. They also showed optimal oral absorption.
So potentially effective as a pill.
Seems likely. Metabolic profiling showed minimal interactions with CYP450 enzymes, those liver enzymes that break down many drugs. This means less risk of interfering with other medications, unlike the synthetics, which often had strong interactions.
Fewer drug interactions. Good.
Plus, favorable plasma clearance rates and significantly improved half-life profiles, often lasting 2-3 hours, compared to less than an hour for some controls. Bacoside A3 looked particularly good here. This suggests a more sustained presence, maybe needing less frequent dosing.
And safety. Toxicity. That was a big issue for the synthetics.
Right. Bacopa phytochemicals showed significantly reduced cardiac liability, less heart risk, and minimal hepatotoxicity, liver toxicity. This is critical as liver toxicity killed off adabesistat. They also showed reduced cytotoxicity, less harmful to cells generally, and lined better with FDA dose guidelines. So the overall profile looks much more favorable from a safety and pharmacokinetic standpoint.
Okay. What about actually getting enough into the brain, even if it can cross? Is delivery efficient?
That's still a challenge, but there's work on nanoparticle delivery systems, tiny engineered particles to carry the drug. Studies show bacoside A-loaded nanoparticles efficiently deliver it into the brain, crossing the BBB. This indicates potential for improved delivery methods in the future.
This truly suggests Bacopa phytochemicals, with their nuanced inhibition and favorable safety, could potentially overcome the hurdles faced by synthetics, offering a more balanced, maybe safer approach to managing anemia. It really makes you wonder about the potential hidden in traditional remedies, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It underscores the value of looking at nature not just as herbs, but as complex chemical factories that have evolved sophisticated interactions with our biology over millennia.
Okay, this raises a really important practical question for anyone listening who might be considering Bacopa for cognitive benefits. If it holds such promise, what are the practical things to know? How is it typically taken? What about dosages? And crucially, any side effects or warnings?
Absolutely. Practicalities are key. First off, it's crucial to emphasize that dosage recommendations can vary widely. It really depends on the specific product you're looking at.
Why the variation?
Because different extracts have different concentrations of the active compounds, the bacosides. Not all products are standardized to the same level, so you really must speak with a qualified health professional, your doctor, a pharmacist, a registered dietitian for guidance.
Right, especially before starting anything new.
Definitely. Get advice on safety, proper usage, especially if you have any health conditions or take other meds. That's paramount.
Okay, how is it used traditionally?
Traditionally in Ayurveda, the powder might be added to hot water for a tea, or mixed with ghee clarified butter and added to warm water for an herbal drink. Today, you'll usually find it in capsules, powders, or liquid extracts. Looking for products standardized to a certain percentage of bacosides is generally a good idea for consistency.
Got it. What about dosages from the studies we talked about, just for reference?
Sure, just for reference, not medical advice. We saw quite a range. That early adult study used 12 grams in syrup form daily. Some children's studies use 350 milligrams 3 times a day as syrup. The ADHD kids study used 50 milligrams of fresh plant extract twice a day. Many healthy adult studies used around 300 milligrams of a standardized extract daily. That Bacomine trial started at 300 milligrams, then went up to 450 milligrams daily. And remember the Indian kids study, they used 260 milligrams daily, which the researchers thought might have been too low compared to studies using over 1,000 milligrams or even 2,000 milligrams that did see effects.
Right, so dose and product concentration really matter for effectiveness.
Hugely important. Too low, you might see nothing.
Okay, what are the downsides, side effects, and warnings?
Bacopa is generally considered safe for most people, short-term, within guidelines. But again, talk to your provider. There are some specific potential issues, though often mild. GI issues. It might worsen ulcers by increasing stomach intestinal secretions. So, caution if you have a history of ulcers or maybe bad heartburn. Lungs. It could potentially increase fluid secretions in the lungs. Might worsen conditions like asthma or emphysema. Discuss with your doctor if you have respiratory issues. Thyroid. This is an important one. Bacopa may increase thyroid hormone levels. One animal study showed a 41% increase in T4. So it could be unsafe if you have a thyroid disorder, especially hyperthyroidism, or are on thyroid meds.
41% is significant.
Yeah.
Okay.
And lastly, urinary tract. It might increase secretions there too, potentially worsening urinary obstructions. Could be a concern for folks with BPH or other urinary flow issues.
All right. What about drug interactions? You mentioned the thyroid meds. Anything else?
Yeah, this is where we have very little extensive human data, which is common for botanicals. But given how it works, influencing neurotransmitters, enzymes, there's potential for concern. Caution is key.
So besides thyroid meds?
Antidepressants, especially SSRIs like fluoxetine. Since Bacopa affects serotonin, taking both could theoretically risk serotonin syndrome, confusion, agitation, blood pressure changes. It's a theoretical risk, but needs awareness.
Okay.
Alzheimer's and glaucoma meds. Bacopa might boost acetylcholine, which these meds, like donepezil, pilocarpine, also affect. Taking both could lead to an overeffect, nausea, dizziness, slowed heart rate. And there's a more general warning. Bacopa might interfere with the metabolism or transport of certain other drugs, potentially increasing their levels. This could include the blood thinner warfarin, risk of bleeding. Some diabetes meds like glipizide, risk of low blood sugar. Some blood pressure meds like diltiazem or losartan, risk of low blood pressure. Even some chemo drugs, potentially increasing side effects.
Wow.
And there's that cell study evidence about bicopicide second, reducing PGP activity, the bouncer protein. If it does that, it could raise levels of many other drugs that rely on PGP for removal. So potential for various interactions.
This really underscores why talking to your healthcare provider is so vital before trying Bacopa, or any supplement, really.
Yeah.
Especially with existing conditions or other medications, it's about informed decisions. Safety first.
Absolutely. Empowering yourself with knowledge, but doing it responsibly in consultation with a professional.
So we've taken a truly fascinating deep dive into Bacopa Monnieri today. We journeyed from its ancient roots as this revered memory tonic, explored its complex, wonderfully multifaceted interactions with our brain chemistry, acting more like a symphony conductor than a single instrument, maybe.
Nice analogy, yeah.
And we even uncovered its profound potential role in the future of Alzheimer's treatment, a frontier where traditional wisdom might just hold a crucial key for modern challenges.
It's quite compelling.
We've acknowledged the nuances, too. While some human studies show promise, especially with consistent long-term use, others present mixed results. It highlights the complexity of studying these natural compounds and the importance of dose, formulation, context.
Absolutely.
It reminds us that even ancient remedies need modern science to unlock their potential responsibly.
And what's really fascinating here, I think, is how the story of Bacopa Monnieri kind of challenges our conventional understanding of drug discovery.
How so?
Well, it's not about finding that single magic bullet for a complex disease like Alzheimer's. It's more about appreciating the multifaceted mechanisms of natural compounds, how they influence numerous pathways simultaneously, maybe in a more balanced, dynamic way. The idea that a plant extract could offer a potentially safer, more nuanced approach where these highly targeted synthetic drugs have largely failed, it raises a big question, doesn't it?
Which is,
could traditional medicinal knowledge, when combined with our advanced computational and molecular biology tools, actually lead us to truly novel therapeutic strategies? Strategies that respect the intricate dynamics of the human body, rather than just trying to override them completely. Could looking to nature's complexity be the path forward for some of our toughest health puzzles?
something truly to mull over, and perhaps inspire some further exploration on your own. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Bacopa Monnieri.